want to lessen congestion in the streets, want to prevent overcrowding of the land. And then under additional purposes, number 2, I can't quite even discern what that gobbledygook says, because it is just a lot of stuff that can be interpreted in many different ways. So I don't know who composed this text, but I think it's fraught with issues with regard to laying the groundwork for everything that follows. Second, there's quite an extensive detail with regard to your definition of village district, but when one reads it carefully, one sees that it's clearly a commercial center. And that the village district terminology is just cover. The village district details are far looser than what you impose on us as residential owners. For example, I don't know if you noticed, but one of the sections for under residential, if I can find it, because there's so much in here I didn't know where to stop looking. We talk about people having parties in their homes and having to get permits. I will see if I can find that so you can reference it when you. Yes, it's here. There's so much here that. Let's see. And no one even knows what's in it anymore. It's just full of stuff. When I find it, I'll raise my hand. Let's see. I think it was. I'll find it for you guys later. But anyway, you have a whole section on parties. And it says in there that that we're required to get a permit. So, and also people with commercial vehicles can only store one, which I think is very problematic. We have an awful lot of contractors in town. Here it is, 3250. Other principal uses. 3250 principal uses, number 3, private recreational facility B. The activities to be conducted at the private recreation facility have been approved by the commission. What is that? What does that mean? So I think that there needs some clarification in this, because what I concluded when I read this all, and I certainly didn't read it with a fine-tooth comb because it's a lot to digest, is that this is very subjective, and that were someone to take umbrage with someone else in town, they could easily go after them for some seemingly benign activity on their property just to make their life miserable. And I don't think that's the kind of community we want to foster here. I think we're better than that.
You're speaking to 3250 section 2?
Yes.
Page 23.
Sorry?
Page 23.
I also wanted to speak to your section on a winery, because that question, where are we as a town with regard, and this is 5630, with regard to being a dry town, where you say that by special permit, these wineries could then offer other beverages. And I believe, and I may be mistaken, Rob, and certainly correct me if I am, but I think there's vineyards growing on your property, correct?
Vineyards growing.
Yes. Are there?
Are people growing grapes on my property?
Okay, that's fine. No, I think I certainly don't take offense to wineries. And as my daughter said to me in the car, if this thing gets passed, we're all going to be coming to your wineries. We're going to need wine and coke with it, because this is a big problem. I think for a lot of us in town, I think it is. We have, and I will parrot what John Harris said, what Bill said, which is that we are in a time in our town where we have no communication tools. None. We don't get postcards. As evidenced with the budget vote, we had a pathetic turnout because most people didn't even know we were voting on a budget. People don't know about these hearings. The village district did the plan of conservation and development hearings were attended fairly well because we still have a newspaper. Once the newspaper died, everything, all the communication died with it. And what I think is frustrating everyone in this town right now is we're not being heard. You're all sitting at this dais like God. You don't care what any of us has to say. You don't care about what this town's about, who this town is.
Yeah, with all due
What's our
respect, we are here to listen to what you
And
have
I'm
to
going to
say.
finish, Rob, because that's, it's a hearing. I'm not asking questions. It's our time to be heard.
Correct.
And we're very frustrated. We threw in that village district, regardless of what the community wanted or felt. There's been no interest in getting a pulse of this town. And everyone is asking, why are you doing this? And once one village district is established, when's it going to be the second, or the third, or the fifth? What's this really about? We don't know, but there's an agenda here. It's loud and clear. And the way this is written, it's punitive to residential homeowners, and it is clearly to the advantage of commercial development. Something so anathema to what this town has always been about, and everybody's wondering why. What is really going on? It has nothing to do with revenue, it has nothing to do with anything but changing this town and bringing in commercial development finally. After all these decades of fighting and fighting and fighting to preserve this incredible town, and we're turning our noses at it. And I will tell you, I was in London a few weeks ago for work. And as you know, the Europeans are really worried about clean air. And there's a huge movement in Parliament right now to build or to plant hundreds and hundreds of thousands of trees because they need them for clean air. And there's a huge issue right now with what do they do with their farms? And how are they going to tend to that? Well, we don't have that word. We are so far advanced from that issue. And you're about to turn the tables on it. This is the most insane thing I have ever seen, that we would be even considering something like this to our town when the rest of the world is trying to have what we have.
Paul Parker.
I'm Paul Parker, 246 Morehouse Road. I feel like this late in the evening, what I say is going to be redundant to what has been said before me, and also the last time we were here in public hearing. But I have the master plan in front of me, and the first two statutory purposes for the zoning regulations are to protect the public health, safety, convenience, and property values, and also lessen the congestion in the streets. I've always been proud to live in Easton and have been very proud at the fact that our town is so different from those around us. That's why a lot of us are here. I come from, my career is in marketing and advertising, and what we always tell our clients is, do not dilute your brand's point of difference ever. Do not walk away from it, do not step away from it, because in this world, that's your brand identity is everything, and Easton does have a brand identity. It's a town, but our brand identity is that we are a green space, we are a rural town, we have a lot of farm, agriculture, And it is a vacation spot for a lot of people, as evidenced by Silverman's Farm and some of the farms here. If we go ahead and have a village district, I think we are diluting our brand identity. Looking at the proposed village district and seeing the types of businesses that could go in there, I find it hard to imagine, you know, every fall I'm very proud of how many people come and visit our town. It may be a minor inconvenience, but I think it's wonderful that we have the benefit of living here while all these other people are trying to escape the towns. They're commercialized towns that do not have a lot of green space and are coming here to visit for the day. I took a look at the list of the types of businesses that could settle in a village district here that could receive special permit. And I saw dry cleaners, nail salons. All of these businesses can't be any larger than 2,500 square feet, but if you think about what businesses we all patronize in other towns around us that are 2,500 square feet, there could be a Subway sandwich shop here, there could be a nail salon, there could be a massage parlor. You know, once you open the doors, then becomes very tricky to say no to people who want to be in here. So I find it hard to imagine people coming to visit our beautiful town when we look like every town around us. And we also have businesses here already, I think, that we are all very proud of and like to support, and I'd hate to see them having to compete with a Subway sandwich shop. And I see that you're laughing.
Yeah, I did the massage parlor, just made me laugh.
Well, hey, it's a legitimate business, and under 2,500 square feet, they could, you know,
They're lining up.
hey, who knows? That's kind of the problem, is if you open up that zone for commercial business, you don't know what's going to try and move in here. Yes, we all like it to be little crafty, cute businesses that make our town center look like Vermont, but maybe not. Maybe it will be. You know, I did see day spas listed in there. So, you know, yes, you can laugh at it, and I laughed at it when I looked at it also. That's kind of a horrifying thought. But you really can't, you know, you have no idea what businesses are going to try and move in. Maybe it's, you know, a nice little store that lines all of their wares out on Sport Hill Road. That might not look very good. All of that changes the character of the town, like it or not, and I don't think it's a very good idea.
Line.
Deborah Klein, Cedar Hill Road. You're gonna love, I'm gonna be very quick. Very self-centered concern about, with the over restrictions that you're all proposing, I agree with everyone that has already spoken. I wanna know what impact this is gonna have on the sale of our property and in bringing in new people into town. You're limiting the people that are here. When I first moved here from New Haven County, we moved to Lower Easton. We then ended up with 4 dogs and moved to 3-acre zoning because that was the kind of place we needed to live. So with the restrictions that you're proposing, with boats not being able to be seen from the road, you know, limiting domestic animals, who is going to want to move to Easton? Seriously, they can move to Westport, they can move to Fairfield. The town center's not going to do anything. It is going to end up a very cute, quaint, empty store town. No one's going to shop there. Takes me 3 minutes to get to Monroe, another 5 minutes if I want to go to Fairfield. And my question is, will there be a public hearing where our questions will be answered? Because I understand this is a hearing right now, so you're hearing, but we're not getting any feedback from you. Will there be another meeting?
We'll make a determination after this one.
Right.
Anybody else want to be heard tonight?
Yes.
Ann Manuski, you want to come up?
I am Nesky, 20 Morning Glory. Good evening. Thank you for your work on this. However, like many people, I don't quite understand how we got to today, other than those of us who have read Agenda 21 know effects of what the bigger people, the big government wants for us, not necessarily what we want. I have questions. One of my points, I am on the Historical Society Board, and the word preservation comes up 8 times. There's nothing about real preservation of our existing structures. If our existing structures are through the National Registry or on some specific list, then they're preserved. I've also had a discussion with our board. We in town, which people don't realize, do not have an ordinance on our stone walls. And just in the past week, someone saw somebody clipping stones from one of the walls on Morehouse Road. We need that, like, years ago. So myself and other members, the Historical Society will be working to put that forward. I think Chester might have sent you some stuff. Tear down regs. I have sent copies of, in fact, I don't know if I sent it to you or not, Rob. There's a building on Westport Road, right across the street from the Adams Schoolhouse. And if you don't know what it is, there's white paint on it that says 258 Westport Road. It's an eyesore for like 3 years. So I think it was during the last administration, that house was in foreclosure and it was sold, and sadly, really sadly, the Historical Society found out that that was actually a school in Easton. How pathetic is that? So I'm not understanding this picture because I see this picture. I love this picture. 21 years, you know, we have the water, the farms. I'm not seeing where this is going. I want to keep our farms, I want to keep our town the way it is. I have 2 cats. I don't want to be penalized if I have 2 more cats or a dog or whatever. And I'm so glad the person brought up the tolls, because I was at the rally on Saturday. I don't know if anybody else was at the rally in Hartford. Oh my God. Like, that is horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. How much money we are going to be putting out for all the other things in this state when we want to live in our nice little town and keep our nice little town the way it is. So on that, also I want to know about grandfathering anything. So what exists today, once that is voted on? If I want to have 6 cats, can I have 6 cats? Yeah, Mr. Lamont might have me taxing my cats, but the question. And again, ordinances for penalties. We have a lot, we have sufficient ordinances in town. We need to have our elected officials following the state statutes and following the ordinances and enforcing the ordinances. And I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We got a couple of people from over here, if you could identify yourselves for the record. You're welcome to come to the podium.
So, my name is Marika Ancona. I live on Mile Common. Find it really cute that there aren't that many millennials here, so I guess I'm the chosen one. Luckily, I try to dive into the stuff to understand what's going on in this town, and I guess it's I guess I can speak on a basic term as a person who recently bought a home and was sold a picture of what this town is, and I guess I'm just fundamentally confused as to what the ultimate goal for you guys is, because it seems as if it sounds like it's the beginning of something entirely different, and I intentionally did not buy a house in any town USA. If I wanted to do that, I could have. I don't know if you know the statistics, I'm pretty sure it's everywhere. It's very hard for people my age to buy a home. Got a lot of debt. It's not a great time to be a young person, but luckily my husband and I were pretty responsible and got ourselves on a good path, and very happy to be in this town. And I'm just concerned that the current leadership maybe isn't thinking about my future, and maybe has some other interests in mind, which I great, that's your prerogative. You can be looking out for yourself, and I guess it's good that I'm here because I can speak to people my age that maybe might think differently. My husband is originally from Long Island. He's from Nassau County, which is one of the most congested places on this earth. And we love Vermont, but our families are all from the tri-state area. Didn't want to go all the way up there. We have jobs that could let us do that. And Easton was a breath of fresh air. We literally crossed into the border and went, whoa, this is great. So I just think looking at those main points at the beginning of what you are proposing sets a pretty lofty goal for you guys. And I think as stewards for this town, that's something you really need to consider is, are we maintaining everything line by line? Does that maintain what our main goals are? Because I'm just starting my time here. I hope you guys will be here for a long time, but I don't understand why you would fundamentally try to start to change what makes Easton, Easton.
You have anything specific in mind when you say?
No, I just think sometimes people need to think on a big, broad spectrum. I think it's very easy to get lost in the weeds, and sometimes sometimes it's good to just take a step back and say, are we doing what we're supposed to be doing here? Thanks.
Thank you. So, once be heard, ma'am, if you could identify yourself, please.
Katie Reed, I live on Black Rock Road.
I'm sorry, Kate, what's your last name?
Reed, R-E-E-D.
Thanks.
And I am wondering, actually it's great that I came right after you, I'm a millennial. I'm wondering whether this meeting was scheduled at 6 o'clock intentionally, so
My
that
husband couldn't get here.
people with school-age children and people who work outside the immediate area, so that they would not be able to attend.
Should have been scheduled at 7 or 8.
Yep, 7:30. Your meetings are usually scheduled at 7. Most meetings are
7:38
scheduled
right
at
now.
7:30. Right, but it started at 6. So when you
And come
have
anytime they want during the year.
right, and I had to be late, and I did come. You're right. But I'm wondering if it was intentionally scheduled for 6, so that these people would not be able to attend. And I'm hoping that when you have your next meeting, when you're answering people's questions, I'm hoping that you'll schedule that at 7 or 7:30. Thank you.
Drew Chida, C-H-I-E-D-A, Wildwood Road.
Drew, can I spell your last name again, please?
C-H-I-E-D-A.
Thank you.
So I'm a Westport native, my wife's an Easton native, and professionally I'm a physicist, and so I deal a lot in data and transparency, and so there's a couple of things that I wanted to recommend to the commission, which I know being up there and making these choices for Easton is not easy. I'm on the board of the Easton Learning Foundation, and we struggle all the time with the direction to take Easton. One is that one thing I'm missing is why we're making these changes to Easton. What's in it for Easton? I haven't seen a single market analysis, a single independent survey, or a single report that shows that the village district or opening up 3-acre zoning to additional commercial enterprises has any long-standing benefit for Easton. And in fact, from what I understand, I heard Andy Ketchell, who said basically that there's really no financial impact for Easton. So if there's no financial benefit for us, why are we doing it? We know why families move to Easton. No one is surprised. It's because it's Easton. They move here because of the 3-acre zoning, the rural nature. It's not Westport, it's not Fairfield. Right, they move here for the schools. We struggle with the schools, and they're excellent. I mean, it's a huge investment. I've never heard a realtor that I've worked with or a friend say, hey, you know, we were looking at moving to Easton, but there aren't enough stores there for us, so we're going to move to Fairfield. So I struggle to understand why we're making these changes. Coupled with that, when you're structurally changing a document during a revision cycle, as well as adding new regulations, as somebody else brought up earlier, it's really good, and it's a standard practice in a lot of industries to make a delta document or a document of revisions and changes, so that when someone is referring back and forth, the order of the regulations is in a different order. It's very hard to go back and forth between the old regulations from '98 and the new regulations to understand what is different and what is not different for the regulations in the zoning. And I think one thing that probably the commission will take away tonight is that people in Easton love Easton. I dare say we love Easton more than Westporters love Westport, and Fairfielders love Fairfield. And that can be great if they're for what you're proposing, and it can really be problematic if they're not. And from what I've seen and heard in the previous hearings, is that the majority of Easton residents are not in favor of these revised proposals. So I would encourage you to not act upon them without further review and discussion with the community or putting it to a vote. Thank you.
Anyone else want to be heard, please? Come up to the podium. You're welcome to come up. I know who you are. You can identify yourself for the record.
I'm Abby LePage, 18 Cold Spring Road. Can you hear me now? Yes. Cool. And my husband and I have both been very involved, as you know, in the preservation of this town. And maybe a year and a half ago, I met you, and you said you would be willing to listen to all of us and what we wanted. I met you outside in Monroe. And now I'm confused because meeting after meeting after meeting, we say the same thing and nothing changes. That confuses me. That's number one. Number two, my next door neighbor commutes to the city, and he was commuting with a Weston man, and he said to my neighbor, our friends in Westport, Wilton, all want to consider now moving to Easton because it's become like a city in their towns, and they love the rural character of Easton. So let's not change it. Let's not make us like they are. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else? Sir, come up.
I like all things. Wait, here we go. I like all things. If I sound a little different, it's coming from New York originally, the city. I'm Leopold Linval, Deepwood Road. Moved here about a year ago on a new home.
Lee, I'm sorry, I just forgot to say.
L-I-N, V as in Victor, Victory, A-L.
Thank you.
My concern, just like everyone else, we moved here, great schools. First time we came to Easton was to go to Silverman's Farm. Living in Stanford for 3 years, trying to figure out where in Connecticut we wanted to move and buy a home. For us, every time we came to Easton, it felt like home. Coming from New York City and seeing the things that you deal with there, the stress of traffic, everything else that involves when you have a commercial space. When you hear 90% of the people are saying we don't want this commercial area, but somehow there's 10 of you sitting there, you've gone through this proposal, you put it together, everyone just trying to steal your lugs, and what's the response there? Well, we'll take it into consideration. Well, what's the consideration? consideration would be a vote by the people who live in Easton who say, we're opposed to this. So if you're gonna keep talking about it, it's like, well, we'll consider it.